My dad, a man who always saw my brothers as the future of the family business and me as, well, not, once said something that changed my life forever. It was a regular Sunday dinner, the air thick with the smell of roast chicken and unspoken expectations. My older brothers, Mark and David, were talking about their latest wins at the company, their voices booming with confidence. I, on the other hand, had just announced my plan to start my own online business, a small boutique for handmade jewelry. The table went silent. My dad put down his fork, looked at my brothers, and with a smirk, he said, "I'll bet you both $100 each she doesn't make a single sale in 3 months." My brothers laughed, readily accepting the bet. My mom looked at me with pity, but I just felt this cold fire ignite inside me. "She'd never succeed," my dad added, as if I wasn't even there. "It's just a little hobby. It'll pass." That night, I couldn't sleep. Their words echoed in my head. A hobby? Never succeed? It wasn't just about the money or the business anymore. It was about proving my worth, not to them, but to myself. So, I channeled all that hurt and anger into fuel. I spent the next 3 months working like I never had before. My tiny spare room became my headquarters. It was a chaotic mess of beads, wires, packaging materials, and half-empty coffee cups. I barely slept, pouring every waking hour into my project. I learned everything from scratch. I watched countless tutorials on website design, digital marketing, and product photography. My first photos were terrible, blurry and poorly lit. My first website draft was a clunky mess. There were so many moments I wanted to just give up, to admit they were right. I'd look at my bank account dwindling, the bills piling up, and the silence on my sales dashboard was deafening. Doubt was a constant companion, whispering that I was just a girl with a silly hobby. But every time I felt like quitting, I'd remember the look on their faces, the dismissive laughter, and I'd get back to work. I started sharing my story on social media, not just the pretty finished products, but the messy process, the late nights, the frustration. I was honest about my struggles, and something amazing happened. People connected with it. They didn't just see jewelry. They saw the passion and the hard work behind it. My first sale came a month in. I remember staring at the notification on my phone, my hands shaking. It was for a simple pair of earrings, a $12 sale. I cried, not because of the money, but because it was proof. It was possible. Someone out there believed in my work enough to pay for it. That one sale was the crack of light I needed in the darkness. Slowly, one sale turned into 2, then 10, then 100. I started getting messages from customers telling me how much they loved their pieces, how they wore them for special occasions. Each message felt like a small victory against the doubt my family had planted. I built a small but fiercely loyal community around my brand. We weren't just customers and a seller. We were a group of people who appreciated handmade art and the stories behind it. By the end of the second month, I had made a few $1,000s in revenue. It wasn't a fortune, but it was far from the not a single sale my dad had predicted. I was reinvesting everything back into the business, buying better materials, upgrading my website, and even running some small targeted ads. I was exhausted, but I was also more alive than I'd ever felt. I was building something that was entirely mine. As the 3-month deadline approached, a local lifestyle magazine reached out. They wanted to feature my story and my brand in their upcoming issue about local entrepreneurs. I was floored. A real magazine. The interview was surreal. I talked about my journey, the challenges, and what motivated me. I didn't mention my dad's bet. I wanted my success to speak for itself. The day the magazine came out was the day the 3 months were up. I bought a dozen copies. My hands were trembling as I drove to my parents' house for our usual Sunday dinner. I walked in, my heart pounding in my chest. The scene was almost identical to 3 months ago. My dad and brothers were talking business, their voices filling the room. I quietly walked over to the dining table and placed a copy of the magazine in front of my dad, then one in front of Mark, and one in front of David. I didn't say a word. My dad picked it up, a confused look on his face. He flipped through the pages, and then he froze. His eyes widened as he saw the 2-page spread. There was a huge photo of me in my studio, surrounded by my creations, and the headline read, "Local artisan turns passion into booming business." The article detailed my sales, my growing customer base, and my plans for expansion. It mentioned that I had sold over 1,000 unique pieces to customers in 10 different countries. The silence at the table this time was different. It wasn't pity or dismissal. It was shock, pure unadulterated shock. My brother David was the first to speak. "Wow," he whispered, staring at the magazine. Mark was just shaking his head in disbelief. My dad slowly closed the magazine. He looked at me, really looked at me, for what felt like the first time. There was no smirk, no condescension. I could see a mix of emotions in his eyes, confusion, pride, and maybe even a little bit of regret. Then, he reached into his wallet, pulled out a crisp $100 bill, and slid it across the table to Mark. He did the same for David. "A bet's a bet," he said, his voice quiet. Then he looked at me. "I was wrong," he said. "I'm proud of you." Hearing those words from him, after everything, was a feeling I can't even describe. It was better than any sale, better than any magazine feature. It was the validation I didn't know I still craved. But in that moment, I also realized something important. I hadn't done it for them. I had done it for me. Their bet was just the catalyst, the spark that lit the fire. The hard work, the tears, the sleepless nights, that was all me. That dinner changed our family dynamic forever. My brothers started asking me for marketing advice. My dad would proudly show the magazine article to anyone who visited. But more importantly, I had found my own path. My business is now my full-time career. It's still hard work, but it's work I love, work that I built from nothing but a dream and a whole lot of spite-fueled determination. So, if anyone ever tells you that you can't do something, that your dream is just a silly hobby, let them. Let them doubt you. Let them make their bets. And then, go out there and give them the ultimate surprise. Use their doubt as your fuel and prove them wrong. But most importantly, prove to yourself what you're truly capable of. You might just be amazed. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever had a similar experience, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. See you next time.